This video is brought to you by Skillshare. What the hell? Why is This Week in Video Games rocking up a day early this week, you ask? Well, tomorrow I'm sending live my review of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart since the embargo expires at midnight on Wednesday morning, and I typically send This Week in Video Games live at 2 AM on Wednesday morning City time. One thing you probably don't know about YouTube is that the algorithm hates it when you upload 2 videos in a day, especially that close together, and since I'm a slave to the algorithm, I will bow to its malevolent will. The good news is that we get This Week in Video Games a day early, and then there's a Ratchet review tomorrow. The bad news is, I don't really think there is any bad news. I just know some people don't like changes to their routine. Actually, there is some bad news. Next week's This Week in Video Games will be a day late. You know why? Because it's E3, and I'm going to wait until all the press conferences are over and do one big, long post-E3 wrap-up, which will go live Thursday, 2 AM Sydney time, so you can look forward to that. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding the notification bell so you won't miss that video or the Ratchet review, you know the drill. Speaking of E3, the week before E3 kicks off is always fun because leaks happen, and this year is no different because the leaks have already started to flow. First up, we got confirmation this week from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg that Firaxis, makers of the acclaimed Civilization and XCOM series, are working on an XCOM-style tactics game set in the Marvel Universe. The title will be announced at the upcoming 2K E3 showcase, but the cat is already out of the bag. Still lots to look forward to in that announcement though, since we know essentially nothing about it other than it's apparently Marvel XCOM, but even that could be wrong. We'll find out soon. The other leak this week had more meat on the bone. Shin Megami Tensei V is all but confirmed to be arriving on 11th of November this year. The title was meant to be revealed as part of Nintendo's E3 showcase scheduled for next week, but apparently the person managing the game's Japanese website forgot to go into incognito mode, accidentally posting details about the game that were quickly captured and archived by website Persona Central. There's a lot of detail in their articles, such as information about the lead character, the story setup, the world they'll be exploring, and even info on the limited edition version of the game you'll be able to pre-order after Nintendo Showcase makes all of this official. I'll leave a link to Persona Central's article below. Just briefly, there's been a lot of excitement about the next Battlefield game since the hype machine is doing its thing. This week, EA announced that the game will be officially revealed on June 9th, where I'm sure we'll see a lot of it, but I'm sure they'll also hold something back for their EA Play Showcase, which is scheduled for the 22nd of June, well and truly after everyone else has shot their shot as part of E3. So yeah, be ready for a big month of Battlefield. Here's some sad news. Yuji Naka has officially left Square Enix and is now considering retirement. If you haven't heard of him before, that's a shame because this guy co-created Sonic the Hedgehog and would later go on to lead the creation of Nights into Dreams, Phantasy Star Online, and a host of other games. Most recently, he led the creation of the absolute catastrophe Balan Wonderland, a game that currently sits at 44 on Metacritic and has very few defenders outside of those trying to convince themselves that they didn't accidentally purchase one of the worst platformers ever made. There's strong suspicion that Balan's woeful reception was the reason for his departure from Square, but neither Naka nor Square are likely to comment on that. The news has been met with an outpouring of sympathy for Naka, with fans remarking that if he does choose to retire, his legacy will be the fantastic, generation-defining titles that helped change gaming forever, rather than the disappointing swan song. Every great artist makes something bad eventually. I mean, look at the prequel trilogy. But we remember George for The Empire Strikes Back and Vader more than we do for The Phantom Menace and Jar Jar. So too will it be for Yuji Naka. What's next? Capcom. This week, Capcom found themselves in a spot of legal trouble owing to claims that they stole a photographer's photos and used them extensively throughout Resident Evil and Devil May Cry games. Now, I was skeptical about this because very often these sorts of claims are a bit of a reach and some person farted a tune in a TikTok and now they're suing some games company for royalties on their OST. I don't know. This time though, this photographer filing this lawsuit, they've got a point. She compiled a book of photographs of textures back in 1996, which also had an accompanying CD-ROM. And obviously someone at Capcom purchased that bundle because you see examples of her textures all across Capcom's games, up to and including the Resident Evil 4 logo itself. She provided over 200 examples of her work being used and is now seeking $12 million in damages for copyright infringement. Something tells me she's about to get paid. Okay, so next piece of news is a little dry and a little techie, but it's important. This week, AMD unveiled its Fidelity FX feature, which is essentially the same technology as Nvidia's DLSS. What this does is it produces images that look like they're running at higher resolutions, but they're actually running at much lower resolutions. For freeing up a lot of headroom on your GPU that can be directed towards other processors like real-time ray trace lighting. Those who own an AMD GPU are about to get a nice performance lift in games that come to support this feature. That's nice and all, but that's not why I'm bringing up this story today. Turns out this feature is coming to the Xbox Series S and X consoles, since AMD provide both the CPUs and GPUs for Xbox's latest gen consoles. This is a very big deal because this feature can literally double your frame rate in some circumstances, and to have that kind of tech supercharging what is already some very powerful hardware, the future is very bright for Xbox owners. It remains to be seen if Sony will follow suit with something like this. Speaking of Sony, it was a big week of news for them, and some of it has fans a little angry. First up, Bend Studio, makers of the classic Siphon filter and the more recent Days Gone, revealed that they were working on a brand new IP, confirming earlier reporting from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg. This would typically be great news, but it's overshadowed by the controversial decision of Sony HQ to reject Bend's pitch for a Days Gone 2, a game that many fans are desperate to see happen, so much so that there's a petition with nearly 120,000 signatures trying to pressure Sony into greenlighting the project. This announcement is the nail in the coffin for that effort, since Bend don't have the resources for two big titles at once. Sad time for Deacon St. John and his boozer buddy Boozer. This week we also got word that the next God of War, tentatively titled Ragnarok, has been delayed to 2022, surprising absolutely no one, because for real, who thought that God of War was coming out this year? Anyone? Bueller? Anyway, Sony Santa Monica tweeted out the news, which was generally met with a lot of support, because the last thing we want is a rushed game. It reminds me of the famous Shigeru Miyamoto quote, "A delayed game can be good, but a Wii U game will eventually be re-released for $60 on the Nintendo Switch with monetized fast travel. Don't forget to buy the amiibo as well." Anyway, at least one subhuman didn't take the delay news very well, DMing Sony Santa Monica employee Alana Pierce a series of messages so obscene that I can't even read them out without being demonetized. God of War game director Cory Barlog tweeted his support of Alana, making clear that he made the call for the game to be delayed, and if anyone has a problem with that, they should speak to him, not his hard-working team of devs who are just doing their job. Corey continues to be a fucking legend, but I'll admit I'm a little biased. I was his Uber driver in Sydney at one point. Anyway, as part of the God of War delay news, we also got confirmation that it would not be a PS5 exclusive, and would also be making its way to PS4. This news came at around the same time we learned that Gran Turismo 7, earlier promised to be a PS5 exclusive, would also be making its way to PS4. So why would this news piss people off? It pisses off more than a few people because many PS5 owners bought their consoles to play the latest generation of games, unburdened by the restraints of last-gen hardware. Knowing that Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, and Gran Turismo 7 will all be at least a little bit held back by the power of the PS4 is disappointing for some. It flies in the face of Sony CEO Jim Ryan's earlier comments, who said that, quote, "Sony believes in generations," end quote, when responding to Microsoft's reveal that many of its earlier next-gen titles would also be cross-gen titles. Now, Ryan's words look either opportunistic or straight up dishonest, as Sony are now following the exact strategy that they were low-key dissing earlier. Not a great look. My take on all this? People can't buy consoles right now, either because of scalpers or production shortages, or simply because COVID has knocked so many people on their ass economically. I'm okay seeing these titles make some compromises in their design and their visuals, if it means that the 100 million people who own a PlayStation 4 get to experience God of War's next chapter before a YouTube thumbnail spoils the ending for them. But that's just me. Let's round things out with some Nintendo news. This week it was revealed that Nintendo will be opening a museum to honor and preserve its history. The museum will be located at the outskirts of Nintendo's home city, Kyoto, and will be built in a decommissioned Nintendo factory, which was first opened back in 1969 when Nintendo used to make playing cards. Nintendo says it plans to use the museum to share, quote, Nintendo's product development history and philosophy with the public. Don't forget to buy the amiibo as well. While Nintendo are keen on preserving their history, they aren't fans of other people doing that work for them. This week, Nintendo won a court case against Matthew Storman, owner and administrator of ROM Universe, a site that people could use to access pirated Nintendo ROMs. The case was particularly interesting for the fact that the defendant chose to represent himself, despite the fact that he was not a lawyer and had no legal background. He claimed he was innocent because he had never uploaded any of the ROMs himself, but that was quickly proved to be a lie, and the fact that he was charging people for VIP access to the site didn't help his case either. He made a total of around $30,000 from his site, but now he owes Nintendo $2.1 million. Let that be a lesson to you kids. Don't fuck with Bowser. Doug Bowser. So, what got announced or delayed this week? Big week for announcements, which to be honest is surprising since the week before E3 is usually all quiet except for the leaks. Anyway, here we go. Alien's Fireteam got a release window of winter, which when I plug that into Google Translate tells me it's actually sometime between December and February. It's a co-op alien colonial marines looking game, only this time Randy Pitchford isn't involved, so it might not end up being a massive scam. They're making a game based on Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. As an Alfred Hitchcock fan, I like this a lot. As an Alfred Hitchcock fan, I have no idea how this will work. The teaser trailer certainly doesn't give much away other than it's a narrative adventure. No release date for this one yet either. Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate Demon Hunters was revealed this week. Man, it really feels like we get a new Warhammer game like every month. Anyway, this one is billed as a tactics-based RPG, so many are expecting something akin to Warhammer XCOM. But I think we've already got a few of those, don't we? Do they already exist? I don't know, it's genuinely hard to keep up with all of the Warhammer games that are coming out. PvP-focused MMO Crowfall finally got a release date for July 6th. The original promised release date for this title was 2016, so obviously things didn't go quite to plan. I'm not seeing a lot of excitement for this one. It almost feels like the many delays just exhausted people's patience, and even as a brand new release, Crowfall just looks kind of old at this point. I wish the team the best of luck with it, but yeah, it does feel like it's a bit of an uphill battle at this point. Okay, now here's an upcoming MMO that looks like it's got a real shot of doing well. Roll it, Austin. This is Palia? Let's go with Palia. Revealed this week by Studio Singularity 6, it draws inspiration from World of Warcraft, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, and even Breath of the Wild. It's about chilling with your homies in the nice village you've built together, but also about going outside and killing stuff. That's a nice mix, I'm down for that. Don't expect this anytime soon as it appears to still be very early in development. This game is wild. This game is called Palworld. It's from the makers of the half-finished Craftopia. It's basically Pokemon meets Breath of the Wild, but with machine guns. And you can illegally poach Pokemon from their protected habitats, and then you put them to work as slave laborers on your estate to make AR-15s. I'm not joking about any of that. You can use Pokemon as a human shield to block bullets. What the fuck is this game? I want to play it. No release date. I hope it actually exists and isn't some sort of elaborate troll. If it is, well played. Ghostrunner announced its next-gen update arriving September 28th. It promises 4K 60 FPS performance with full ray tracing enabled for both the Series X and PS5. Riot announced this week that Valorant was averaging 14 million unique players per month, and since it's a popular online free-to-play multiplayer shooter, it has to get a mobile port. And so it is. No release date or details on this yet, but it's nice to know that it's coming since Riot's recent League port Wild Rift was truly excellent. And finally, the Atari VCS is finally hitting shelves. If you are dumb enough to want to spend 800 Australian dollars on a device aimed at emulating asteroids, then you can do that on June 15th. So, what came out last week? Well, nothing huge, and to be honest, we've got a pretty packed show this week, so we're actually going to skip this section for now. It'll be back next week since there are some big hitters releasing. Speaking of which, what's coming out this week? Dismemberment Simulator Chivalry 2 hits every platform except for Nintendo Switch on the 8th. This game has had multiple beta tests, all of which have been very well received. If you've got the stomach for the carnage, enjoy yourself. Edge of Eternity finally arrives in 1.0 this week on the 9th, exclusive to Steam for the moment, but console ports will arrive later. It's a JRPG, except it's made in France. It boasts a huge open world to explore and over 40 hours of gameplay. Steam reviews are fairly positive, with it sitting at around 81% at the moment. Hopefully the 1.0 experience delivers. Phantasy Star Online New Genesis arrives on the 9th for Xbox consoles and PC. It's a complete overhaul of an MMO that many have come to love since its recent revival. I've heard that it's only offering a small amount of content at the start, with the rest of it being deployed later. Hopefully there'll be enough there to keep new and returning players happy. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate hits the PS5 on June 10th. And that's the only way you're going to be able to play Episode Intermission, which is a new chapter in the story that introduces Yuffie. It absolutely sucks that Square are making this new chapter in their PS4 game exclusive to the PS5. Like, it really sucks, and there's no reason for it that Square or anyone else has been able to provide. Extremely lame. Fighting game fans, this is your time. Guilty Gear Strive arrives on the 11th for PS4, PS5, and PC. I'm not a fighting game dude, but it's been great to see the fighting game community get so pumped for this one. Just looking at the footage of it, it looks amazing, and it makes me wish I had a spare 1,000 hours to invest in not completely sucking at fighting games. Biggest release of the week, of course, is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, arriving exclusive to the PS5 on the 11th. I have nothing to say about this because I am under embargo, but I will have a review up tomorrow. Look forward to that one. Put this on your radar. Thymesia is the debut game from newly formed Overborder Studio, and it's making quite an entrance. It's wearing its Souls-like inspiration on its sleeve, but it's also jazzing things up with some flashy Devil May Cry inspired flair, like its speed and its unique abilities. I like the look of this. I'm a sucker for a good Souls-like. Hell, I'll settle for a decent one, and hopefully this one helps ease the pain that comes with every day waiting for Elden Ring. Thymesia is currently in development, no release date. I'll leave a link to its Steam page in the description below. Sort of free stuff time, and this week we're getting some love from some unexpected places. First up, it's Epic, who are currently giving away the excellent real-time strategy management sim hybrid Frostpunk. It's only available until June 11th, so get in quick. Game Pass gets its monthly refresh this week, adding Wild Heart, Darkest Dungeon, Backbone, and For Honor to the roster, so that's all nice. Twitch Prime is serving up the goods this week. First up, you can get Battlefield 4 for free, obviously as part of the hype campaign for the reveal of the next Battlefield, but that's okay, I'm not complaining. You can also get Batman the Telltale series, one of the last Telltale games released before the studio sadly went under. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can get both of those games for free this month with your membership. And finally, to celebrate Pride Month, Don't Nod's Tell Me Why Chapters 1 through 3 are available through both the Microsoft Store and Steam. No strings attached other than that you'll need to buy the remaining chapters to finish the storyline, but at least this deal lets you try before you buy. Not bad at all. Ladies and gentlemen, times are tough out there right now, and that's one of the reasons I have the feel-good story for the week as part of this show. I want you to leave feeling uplifted, inspired, hopeful, which is why it's very important for you to know that this week, someone paid $100,000 for a McNugget that looks like an Among Us character. I'm not making this up, I wish I was, but no. This week an eBay auction went up for 99 cents, where the item in question was a McDonald's McNugget sealed in a plastic Ziploc bag. The McNugget was no ordinary McNugget though, for it had two small stumpy legs sprouting from an ovular torso. Obviously, this mutated McNugget couldn't just be dipped in limited edition BTS dipping sauce. No, it had to be put in an IKEA Ziploc bag, photographed, listed on eBay, and sold for the exact sum of $99,997 US. Enough money to purchase a Porsche SUV, a Tesla Model S, or a mid-tier spaceship from Star Citizen's cash shop. Not one of the best ones, mind you, just a mid-tier ship. Still, if I had to choose between paying money for Star Citizen and paying $100,000 for a McNugget, I'll take the McNugget. At least I know I'm getting something for my money. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the week in video games. Like I said, next week's show will be both late and long as we take a look back at all the biggest reveals and cringiest moments from E3. As much shit as E3 gets for being a bit of a disaster each year, it always has a special place in my heart, as the cavalcade of reveals and announcements feels like a 5-day long Christmas. I love it, and I hope you'll join me for it next week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and leave a comment down below with your favorite flavor of McNugget dipping sauce. And don't forget to check out this week's sponsor, Skillshare. Before we go, this video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. On Skillshare, millions of members come together to find inspiration and take the next step in their creative journey. Well, you might think, that's all well and good, but that's not something I need, right? Well, maybe, but maybe you do and you just don't know it. For example, maybe you want to have a career in content creation, and maybe you want to do that around the world of video games, but you don't know where to begin. Skillshare is the perfect place to start. You might want to check out this course that teaches you the fundamentals of how YouTube works. Maybe then you want to think about how to create viral content. When it's time to shoot and edit your videos, Skillshare has stuff for that too. Thumbnails matter, and you probably want to learn how to use Photoshop. Skillshare can take care of that as well. And if you already know how to do all of this stuff and you're just looking for some more discipline or structure to make more content more often, there's plenty of courses to help with that as well. Skillshare's courses are put together by experts in their fields, and taking part in them allows you to connect with those creators and other students. You get to build a community around the thing that you're passionate about, supercharging your ambition and creativity. To get started, click the link in the description below, and as an added bonus, the first 1,000 people to click the link get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Thanks Skillshare for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.